And so, Jimmy, let's start us off. You've got these three statutes out here. You've got a timeline that the book of Revelation gives to us, and I think that you're helping people understand in a much easier way by giving us this timeline right in front of us. So proceed.
John chapter 1 of the book of Revelation presents the person and power of Jesus Christ. In that chapter, we see Jesus Christ with his white hair, his eyes as flames of fire, his voice as the sound of many waters, his feet as if fine brass had been burned in a furnace. We see his face as the sun shineth in its very strength. He has 7 stars in his hand, and he's walking among 7 golden candlesticks. Of course, the stars are the angels to the 7 churches, and the 7 golden candlesticks, the 7 churches. That's chapter 1. The power of Christ, of course, is the resurrection of Christ. Verse 18, I am he that was alive and dead, and I now stand before you alive. Then we see in chapters 2 and 3 of the book of Revelation, the letter to the 7 churches. There were 7 church letters given to the angels of the churches and passing along a special message from Jesus Christ, the last word of Christ to the church in those 7 letters to the 7 churches that were alive in 95 AD in Asia Minor. They have been periods of church history, and they are churches not necessarily the church at Ephesus or Thyatira or Sardis or Laodicea, but describing churches that are alive today. Chapter 4, we see the first of the 3 main events in the book of Revelation, the rapture of the church. Chapter 4, verse 1, John hears, as it were, a voice of a trumpet calling him to come up and be with him in the heavenlies. Chapter 5, a great choir of angels singing, Worthy is the Lamb, chapter 5, verse 12 to be exact. Chapter 6, the beginning of 3 sets of 7 judgments. There are 7 seal judgments, 7 trumpet judgments, 7 vial judgments. 21 judgments that get progressively worse as we go through the 7-year tribulation period. In the first 3.5 years, you have the backdrop of the false church. That's Revelation chapter 17. And then the first seal is broken, and that is the Antichrist. He comes on a white horse, a crown on his head, a bow in his hand, no arrows. That means he establishes peace at the beginning of this 7-year tribulation period. In fact, when he confirms that peace, as talked about in Daniel chapter 9 and verse 27, that actually starts the clock ticking on the 7-year tribulation period. The second seal would be the release of a man on a red horse. That would be the alignment of the nations. We're talking about Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Egypt, Turkey. We're talking about Saudi Arabia, Lebanon. We're talking about these nations that will align themselves against the Jewish state of Israel. And we can see that happening even as we're doing this broadcast.
And how do you know those specific nations that you just mentioned are the ones?
Because the Bible tells us in specific locations. Those 2 nations I talked about that begin to attack Israel, Syria and Egypt. That's Daniel chapter 11, verses 40 to 45. Many of the other nations in Ezekiel chapter 38 and Psalm chapter 83. These chapters in God's Word lay out the scenario and the names of the nations that will come against Israel in the last days. You have this rest of the sealed judgments that are released upon the earth, and that would include 1/4 of the earth being killed, starvation running rampant, earthquakes in divers places, a martyrdom of believers, not Christians because they go at the rapture, but those who turn to Jesus Christ in the tribulation period. How will they turn to Christ? There will be 2 witnesses that will preach. This is chapter 11, verse 3 of Revelation through chapter 11, verse 13. These 2 witnesses will preach. I believe it's Elijah and Enoch, who have never died, by the way. They were translated into the heavenlies. They will come back, and as Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27 says, appointed unto man once to die, and after this the judgment. These 2 men will die. They'll lay in the streets of Jerusalem for 3.5 days, at which time they miraculously will be raised from the dead and